Hello, and welcome to another episode of 360 Sports. Today, Banning, Oliver, myself, and Alec are talking about the Ultimate Fighting Championships. Let's start off with UFC 325, which took place in Sydney, Australia last Saturday, and where national hero Alexander Volkanovski retained his featherweight title, defeating Diego Lopez for the second time in a row. How much more does the 37-year-old have left, and what's next at featherweight?
I would say, it was a dominant performance by Alex Volkanovski. I don't think this series was particularly close through either fight. So I think he's probably got maybe 2-3 fights left. And obviously there's a clear next contender. I think it's got to be the winner of Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. I don't think anything else really makes sense. Sure, there's talks of John Silva, who the UFC loves apparently, or Arman Tsarukyan potentially coming down. I think those fights make more sense down the line, but it's a couple of contenders at featherweight.
Yeah, there's at least two guys, like both the guys you mentioned. I mean, I would have rather seen him fight either of those guys than fight Lopez. But with that performance, I think the 50-45 is a little crazy in my opinion. I think it was closer than that. But, I mean, what else can Volk do at this point? His last two losses to the two best guys in the UFC, so...
I mean, yeah, he's done everything that you can do basically in the pinnacle of the sport, having a very DC career, like you just mentioned, only losing to like the spectacular of the sport. But other than that, I mean, two basic 49-46 wins over Diego Lopez is incredible because we just saw what we did to Gene Silva. And then honestly, could maybe see Gene Silva get that next title shot only just because the UFC apparently loves these entertaining fighters, because we would have seen Lerone Murphy get that title shot. We would have seen Movsar get it. But just in terms of Volkanovski, I mean, what more can you ask for a 37-year-old? Broke the 35-year-old curse, so already 2 years on that. So just what he's doing right now is just not seen before, and it's also just incredible coming off all those losses too.
Yeah, this was a matchmaking blunder by the UFC, in my opinion. As much as I think Diego Lopez deserved this shot, he lost in pretty convincing fashion to Volk the first time. Why give him a second chance? I mean, I understand in the situation if it was a Sean O'Malley-Merab fight, which even then I didn't like that much, but still, there were some moments where Sean could have won that fight. I didn't think it was close, particularly the first time. I didn't think it should have happened the second time. It should have probably been Lerone Murphy. I think his wins and strike the schedule up to that point were impressive enough to get him that title shot. I don't know why Dana didn't do it. And I think that's kind of been the problem with a lot of divisions is Dana doesn't pull the trigger at times when he should pull the trigger on matchmaking. And that kind of, irks some people and rubs some fighters the wrong way. Yeah. And then you have later down the line, this fighter doesn't want to fight at this point because Dana didn't give him the shot when he deserved it. I think the winner of Lerone and Movsar has to be the title fight next for Volk. Otherwise, there's going to be a huge fuss in that division for other guys.
I think it made sense not having him fight Movsar here because Movsar hasn't fought in over a year and a half. But Lerone Murphy was the clear fight to make here. I just don't think Lopez 2 made any sense. And now, who knows, maybe we'll get Lopez 3 before we see someone else fight.
Yeah, I think Murphy should have got that because hypothetically he stepped in when Movsar stepped out. And if Movsar won that fight, he would have got the #1 contender fight. And Murphy stepped in and got the finish. So it doesn't really make too much sense. But that should be a fantastic fight in March, I believe, in London. So whoever wins that, honestly, I think can give Volk a tough fight.
Yeah, and just like going off that point, I thought it was really strange how when Movsar eventually pulled out, all of a sudden the Aaron Pico guy just wasn't this huge name before. And Lerone Murphy, when he got the win, it was kind of just like thrown off to the side when in reality it did feel like a #1 contender fight when it got first announced. So just seeing that was very strange. But also I think this opens up the division a lot more. We've had some guys like Ortega and Sterling and Yair just kind of sitting around seeing what happens. We've seen Yair call for a title shot. We've seen Aljo call for a title shot. So maybe we see them fight. We have Steve Garcia on the run too. So the division's in a good place right now, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, they got options there. There's a lot of ways they can go at featherweight, and I think that if Volk does end up retiring in the next year, there is a pretty clear lineage of guys that can follow him up. But we'll move forward now. We'll go to lightweight, where Justin Gaethje took down Paddy Pimblett. Justin Gaethje was the underdog in this fight, braved some pretty decent odds, and a really good effort from Pimblett to take down the Scouser. Do you guys think Ilia Topuria is going to come back and fight for that belt before the end of the year, or who will be next in line to challenge Gaethje for the interim?
I think he will. I mean, we've heard Ilia say he wants to return in April, June, so the White House looks like it is likely. I mean, that's a clear fight to make, champion versus interim champion. If he, for whatever reason, doesn't end up fighting, whether he wants to go up, whether he's still out, it'll probably be Gaethje versus the winner of Holloway and Oliveira, just because the UFC seems to refuse to give Arman Tsarukyan a title shot. So I think those would be the two fights, but obviously Ilia versus Gaethje is the fight everyone wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes perfect sense now because now you have the interim guy who's an American guy, White House. There's not any really American contenders or champions at this point. Like Sean O'Malley was the guy that could have got there. But I would say Gaethje, you want to have Gaethje versus Ilia at the White House, put an American guy to at least give him a shot. Do I think he has a shot? Probably not, but you at least have to put the American in there.
I mean, I just respect Gaethje for just what he's done for the UFC just in general. Took the Max Holloway fight when he did not have to. Took on Fiziev once that happened. And Fiziev is just this guy that's always just been around, really strong contender in the lightweight division. And then comes out, beats Paddy. He was on a huge fight win streak, hasn't lost in the UFC at all. So, or now he has, I guess, but just looks really strong out there too. And it's kind of those you must have forgot kind of performances, almost like Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis of a couple years ago. So I'm really excited to see the fight between him and Ilya potentially. If Ilya can't fight, I would love to see that Arman Tsarukyan fight. I think that could be really interesting, especially since a lot of people do kind of claim that Arman Tsarukyan is right now the lightweight champion just with what he's done in the division.
Yeah, I kind of previewed it when I opened this here. I thought this was a really weird decision from the odds makers going into this fight. I thought Gaethje was the clear better fighter in this situation, and I really didn't understand why he was the underdog. He's had a tougher strength of schedule. He's had better wins over better competition. Paddy Pimblett's best win was a knockout over an aged Michael Chandler. Justin Gaethje has gone toe-to-toe with some of the division greats and has come out on top. So I don't understand why that was the case, but I will give Paddy his credit. It was a really, really good fight, and there was a lot of times where I thought he was done for and out for the count, and he stayed on his feet and he stood and banged with Gaethje, which, while that wasn't, I think, the way he should have game planned that fight, I think it was admirable and enough to earn a lot of respect with people who said that Paddy wasn't good. I think he'll be a perennial contender for years to come now, and he proved that with this fight. I just don't think he'll ever be able to kind of peek over the top and beat an Ilya Topuria, beat an Islam Makhachev in this division if another one comes along.
Yeah, I thought Gaethje being the underdog was incredibly disrespectful. Once I saw that, I knew what my money was on, just because the amount of fights this man has and the amount of competition, he's gone to war with Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, and we're giving a guy a title shot off of Michael Chandler in 2025.
Yeah, it was a cool knockout, though. And he has aura with his entrance.
He does, but Justin Gaethje, I didn't think it was going to be close, and it wasn't really.
Yeah, I mean, after the second, third round, his coach is yelling at him, go for a takedown. And Gaethje, like another guy that was pretty good at grappling and wrestling early in his career and just gone away from it because he's really good at striking. It seemed like Paddy's kind of going down that same thing. I think if he went for some takedowns, I mean, he has submission wins. He can do it. I think he did prove that he's in that upper echelon of contender now, but I think he's in that same spot as Diego Lopez, who we just brought up, who's just not good enough to beat the champion right now.
Yeah, it was also like a weird situation too, just because Ilya did have, all of his like legal battles going on. So we didn't really get the true Arman versus Ilya shot that we thought was going to happen. This was supposed to be more of just like a regular event that was supposed to happen. We also missed out on Kayla Harrison versus Manny Nunes. We just talked about that too. So yeah, he was also put in a weird spot, but I will say Paddy just showed a lot of grit. Scousers don't get knocked out. That was clear point made. So I think it's just really cool to see that this fight was put together just because nothing else was really on the table besides maybe Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. But that was ready for the BMF, so you kind of have to give us a little bit of purpose. But overall, really cool fight, and I'm really excited to see both of them going forward.
Yeah, well, speaking of contenders in the division, let's move forward and quickly talk about some of the guys that we thought stood out at UFC 324 and 325 that weren't of the two fights that we mentioned. Oliver, go first.
One guy I absolutely want to shout out is Mauricio Rufy. After his loss to Benoit Saint-Denis, which after what Benoit Saint-Denis has been doing, looks much better. He was sort of written off, wasn't sure if he would still be ranked. And to do what he did to Rafael Fiziev, who's an incredible fighter, while he was both sick and injured going into the fight, was just incredible. Fantastic knockout. Hoping we get to see him fight potentially a Conor McGregor. I think that would be a really fun matchup. But I think there's big things ahead for Mauricio Rufy.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I did not think he was going to come in here and get a win in this fight, especially after that first round. He was getting pushed back a lot, but he definitely had a great performance. Other guys in this division as well, guys like Dan Hooker, not the best grappler. Some people had some words. Paddy Pimblett matchup right there. I think both coming off of a loss, I think would be a great fight to see. But this is a really good division right now, and I'm pretty happy. Despite a lot of guys like Arman not getting a shot, I think we're in a good spot.
And then, I want to give credit to the guy who actually just beat Dan Hooker and Benoit Saint-Denis. He's had a very strange up and down UFC run so far. Went against Poirier, didn't go too well, lost to Moicano as well. But since then, racked up a bunch of good quality wins. Had a win against Rufy and looked really strong in that one. Looked really strong against Dan Hooker. So I'm really excited to see what he can do because he has a lot of pop in his punches as well. And not only that, has a really strong wrestling background. So don't be surprised if we see him maybe in some kind of title eliminator really soon.
I won't lie. I wrote BST off simply because he kind of had a perfect schedule to get back to where he was. Fighting Rufy, who didn't have a ground game at the time, that was a clear advantage for BSD. We watched him against Poirier, and Poirier dominated him. That's kind of where, and I guess also you could say Moicano dominated him, which Moicano doesn't really dominate many people on the feet. That was a crazy win. I don't know how that happened still, but I kind of wrote him off. He won me back with this fight. I think I can see him being a decent contender for the future. I'm going to give my shout out to that man on the board right there, Sean O'Malley. I wrote him off as well. I thought after both Merab fights, what do you have left? You had the whole gimmick of, I'm locking in, I'm going straight edge, I'm not going to mess around for this fight camp. And then you go out, first two rounds look pretty lifeless, get subbed by Merab, who doesn't really finish people in the third round. And you're like, this might be it for Sean O'Malley. He's never going to contend for a title again. You get Song Yadong, an upcoming contender in a close fight, and you grit it out. There is some life there of Sean O'Malley. He came back out to superstar. I think that was the moment where I said, okay, this might be something. And he won that fight. I'm back in on Sean O'Malley.
I'm really hoping he gets the Corey Sandhagen fight. I think,
that'd be a good one.
I just don't think he deserves the title shot quite yet. I think it should be Merab.
You can do Merab Yan again.
Yeah, I think you got to do Merab Yan 3.
We can discuss that later, but I think that's probably the direction.
That's the fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if they give Sean the title fight, though, just because, like we said before, same guy with Patty. Like, Dana White really loves these guys that can draw on the numbers, not pay-per-view anymore, but getting the names on the board. And like I said before, the same thing with Justin Gaethje. If you want an American to fight for the belt at the White House, I don't think Sean is the guy that deserves it right now, but he does have that controversial win over Yan, so that goes his way. But I think Merab does deserve it over him right now.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see O'Malley just jump Merab just because of popularity and also just the way he fights. Once again, just to your point, they had a really close fight 3 years ago. And a lot of people since then have wanted to see that fight run back for the past couple of years. So would not be surprised if that's the direction they go in. Also, Sean O'Malley's fight against Song Yadong was very comparable to Peter Yan's back when they fought 2 years ago in I want to say, it was the Miami card, yeah. And same thing. Both were 1-1 going into that round 3, and it just took a championship-level fighter like O'Malley, like Yan, to really grit down and beat someone as strong as Song Yadong, who has stayed in that top 4, top 5 range for a really long time now.
We talked main card for a pretty good while. Now let's move to the guys that kind of dot the prelims, the UFC prospects. We're going to head to the board and give one prospect who each of us thinks is going to go to the moon and contend for a title someday in the UFC. Banning, you're first.
For me, I chose a guy that's still unranked right now, but I have pretty high hopes for him, a guy in Jacoby Smith, 11-0 in the UFC, a 2-time Big 12 champion at wrestling. I mean, he has 2 knockouts so far, and he's already proven that he can stand on the feet and bang, and also hasn't really shown off his wrestling skills so much so far. But I think this is a guy who is a future champion within the division.
Yeah, I think the wrestling background gives you a huge advantage, especially at the higher weights you wrestle at.
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma State, too, there's not many better wrestling rooms in the country to be affiliated with than the Cowboy RTC. There's a couple guys, I think we'll talk about them later, that are NCAA champions that can make the jump to MMA, but this is one guy I think is going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you brought him up, Andy, because this is a guy that in the welterweight division, not really people talk about him a lot just because he doesn't really have that big name or anything, and doesn't really have the best style that a lot of people love, more of a grappler, wrestler than a striker that a lot of people really tend to enjoy. But I think he does a really good job at just smothering people. That Sean Brady style of just getting in there, being bigger, using your size to your advantage. So I think he can go really far in this division.
And in a weight class where Islam Makhachev is your champion, you need good grappling.
100%.
That's
and
fair.
he also, I mean, he wrestled at 174. He also moved up to 184 as a senior. So he'll go in at 170, but by the time he gets into the octagon, he could be close to 200 pounds.
All right, Jacoby Smith, our first one. Oliver, who you got?
All right, I got a budding middleweight contender who actually just fought at 325. I'm going to go with Ateba Gauthier, who has been an absolute monster through his first couple of UFC fights. Ton of finishes, ton of upside. And in a division like middleweight, that amount of striking could prove a problem for the champion, Hamzat Chimaev. I know it's a tough division to actually win with striking, but I think he has a chance.
He did get taken into some deep waters in that fight at 25, but I'll give him credit. He stuck through. And I know Joe Rogan and DC were talking about on commentary that this will make him a better fighter in the long run. And I think that is true.
I would agree.
More people will want to fight him now compared to the kind of monster status he had before this fight.
He did have that status of nobody wanted to fight him, but I mean, he did look human, but he still got the win, and his power is so legit.
I mean, also, it gets to a point where, like, you're in the UFC. All these guys are really good at fighting. I mean, Peyton Talbot lost to Ryan Barcelos. Mansour Abdul-Malik had a no contest or some kind of draw. So getting up these rankings is really tough. But I don't think he'll have any problem bouncing back. I mean, just look at that physique. Like, he is built for the UFC. He's incredible for the Division II at 185. How does he make that weight? I have no idea.
Yeah, just looking at that picture.
Gotta wonder what he walks around at.
Probably over 200.
North of 200
Yeah.
at least.
Probably looks like Patty Pimblett, but the middleweight version.
Yeah.
Paulo Costa.
Oh, Paulo Costa. All right, Alec, you're next.
So going up even further in weight classes, I went with none other than the heavyweight who made his debut recently in the UFC, Steven Asplund. Don't let the physique fool you. He was around 495 pounds at his heaviest outside the UFC. Now is a skinny queen, more at 265. He gets to the limit, but he's just so good at just kickboxing, striking in general. People really compare him to the Max Holloway of the heavyweight division, and you can tell that in his fights. Just constant pressure on the feet, good grappling standing up as well. Doesn't need to work on the wrestling, but he will be fighting on March 14th against Vitor Petrino. I think it's going to be a really good fight for him just because Vitor is known for his grappling and ground game as well. So Steven Asplund wants to move up in this division. I think Vitor Petrino is a really good fight for that. He has really strong physique too, and he has knockout power too. So don't be surprised if you see Steven Asplund on your TV screen really soon.
Yeah, hard to miss this, dude.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. It is a super cool story. I love the backstory for this guy. And, I mean, he had a brawl in his last fight. That was so fun to watch.
That's like Qatar, right?
Yeah, and, I mean, you look at him, you wouldn't think he's a UFC fighter, but, I mean, then you watch him fight, and it's the opposite story.
I mean, just right now, Sean Sharaf had a really awesome fight with him. Might have been one of the best round ones for a heavyweight division ever, which is really cool to see too. And then round two, got him out of there in 2 seconds. Dana White's Contender Series knocked out a guy in 15 seconds as well. Did really strong in LFA. So I could see this guy going really far. He also just has one of those fighting styles where you can see it aging well as he goes on. With some guys in the UFC, you can kind of tell when they're coming up the rankings. Like, honestly, how I felt about Mauricio Rufy, where sometimes you can kind of tell there's like some holes in their game. Obviously, it wasn't the case there, but some guys just kind of pan out to the side when their fighting styles don't really level up.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have an ounce of skill in the heavyweight division right now, you can be ranked.
Yeah.
Like, we see guys like Tai Tuivasa still 15th, and there's only 35 heavyweights in the UFC right now. So if you're a heavyweight, you're a top 35 guy, and this is a guy that, like you said, has knockout power, which pretty much makes him almost a ranked contender already.
How the mighty heavyweight division has fallen. It's pretty crazy to talk about. All right, for my pick, I'll be heading to the land down under with a lightweight to talk about Quillian Salkild. Now, this guy is a star. There's no other way to describe it. His first ever UFC fight came in Australia in his homeland last year, fighting Anshul Jubilee. 15 seconds in, the broadcaster John Anik is still doing the ad read, and Salkild throws a right, drops Jubilee, knocks him out. Goes on to win his next 3 fights. Now, last week at UFC 325, he's fighting Jamie Malarkey in Australia, who the broadcast is hyping up as this motivated fighter is ready to return to glory, to get back to his original form. Salkild submits him in a minute and a half. He's got the grappling, he's got the striking, he's got the swagger. Listen to an interview. You'll love the dude, and he knocked out a guy whose family owns a bakery.
Yeah, can't forget that one. And he showed that there aren't really any holes in his game. He showed a new level in submitting Jamie Malarkey. I mean, he looks fantastic. He should get a ranked fight soon. I'm hoping maybe a Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush, maybe a Hanato Moicano that he's not fighting at 326. So
I was exactly thinking Michael Chandler. I think that's a perfect stylistic fight for him because, again, Chandler can grapple, Chandler can strike. Whoa, what was I saying there? But he doesn't do either exceptionally well. Salkild kind of needs to prove that. Yeah. And I think that's a good fight. Patty Pimblett did the same thing. Maybe look at the Patty Pimblett bump up into the top 10 for beating washed Michael Chandler.
Yeah, and I think another big thing too, guys like this that are kind of still moving up their way in the rankings, like a lot of people knew him as a striker, comes in, wanted to prove that he can be that submission threat. The same thing that we saw with Bo Nickel, a guy that's really good at wrestling, but went out there and wanted to prove that he could strike, got a knockout win in some of his wins going up. So it's good to see that he's more than just that one-dimensional fighter. And I do think a guy, even like a guy like Beneil Dariush, I'm going to take him, and that would move him into 11th or 10th.
Quillen is really good, man. He looks so strong out there. Not only that, he has really good fight IQ as well. He seems to do a really good job of mixing up the martial arts, funny enough, but just does a really good job of just throwing everything out there, really showing what he's got, and then also just adapting to any situation he gets in as well. Like, he's been in deep waters before, gotten out of it. So I'm really excited to see what he does moving forward. And I think you guys mentioned a lot of good names too. We'll love to see Mike Cano. They're both really big personalities. Quillen's been doing a lot of media recently, kind of like Armin Saruki. And so it's really cool to see, his personality grow as well.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, I want to challenge you guys. I told you guys before the show we were doing this. This has been ready in the script. I want you guys to find out what fighter has beaten the two fighters I give you here on the board. CM Punk's just up here for comedy purposes. Okay. Let's go to the first one.
Jose Aldo.
So Jose Aldo and Jamie Malarkey. What fighter has beaten both of them?
Did Peter Yan ever fight Jamie Malarkey?
I was thinking either him or like Volkanovski maybe. Because I know Volk has 2 wins over him.
It might be Volk.
I think it's Volk.
I think it's Volk.
It is Volk.
Okay.
That is the
one for one
answer. And I'm impressed with that. This was one of the toughest ones because he fought Malarkey on the independent regional scene. So that was before the UFC.
Oh, it wasn't a UFC fight. Okay.
Yeah. All right, next two.
I think I know this one, but I'll let you guys go for it.
It's Stipe.
Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades. It is not Stipe.
It is not Stipe, no. I'm trying to think the heavyweight bag right now.
I don't know why I want to say Derek Lewis.
I feel like it's got to be Derek Lewis.
It's got to be Derek
Yeah, a really disgusting fight against Ngannou where they both sat around for 20 minutes.
It's Derek
One of the
Lewis.
worst.
And then that strange fluky uppercut he had against Curtis Blades was awesome.
The fact that this is Derek Lewis, when I was researching this, is terrible.
It's the
Because
most Derek Lewis stat
Francis
ever.
Ngannou is like one of the best heavyweights. I mean, he almost killed Alistair Overeem. And yet he beat Ngannou, he beat Blades. It's Derek Lewis. I don't understand why.
It's the most Derek Lewis stat ever.
Look at that picture. That guy beat Ngannou and
Derek
Curtis
Lewis.
Blades. And finally,
Is it Mateusz Gamrot?
it's Gamrot.
Wow.
Quick call there.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't know you'd blow through that one quickly. I tried Jeremy Stevens as the decoy, but unfortunately,
Not many people have beaten Armin.
That is true.
yeah, that's a good point. Only 3
But
losses.
how do you beat
for
the
him.
hardest hitting 145er though?
The true
Who is
hardest.
that guy? Who is that guy? I can't do a McGregor impression. We tried. All right, we'll move on to the final segment. This one's going to take a while, so we got enough time for this one. We're going to pick what fighters we think will be champions by the end of 2026 in each division. Let's go around the table. We'll start off at flyweight.
I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja. I think whenever he comes back, I think that'll probably be late summer, early fall. I think he'll beat whoever has the belt, whether it is Joshua Van, whether it is Satsura Taira, whether it's Manel Kape. I think he's that good. The injury shouldn't affect him too much. All those guys are very capable of beating him, but I think Pantoja he was the best flyweight for, 5 years in a row?
Yeah. I have Tyra beating Van, but then I think, like you said, if Pantoja comes back by the end of the year, it's his division. I mean, he's the guy no matter what. There's a reason why he's still higher up in the pound-for-pound rankings than the champion.
I'm actually going to go a different route. I love Manel Kape right now. He seems like the only guy right now at flyweight to really have some like pop in his punches. Knocked out Asio Omabayev, knocked out Brandon Royval in the last event of last year. So just really impressive stuff right now. The only thing you worry about is that grappling. If he faces someone like Pantoja or Tyra, those guys just really have the edge there. He also got taken down a bunch by Muhammad Makayev. If he comes back, I could see him being the champion as well, but he still has some issues with the UFC and being a good person overall.
Alec, I respect the pick, but I'm going to refer back to that Makayev fight. Remember when we thought that was going to be a war? That was anything but a war.
Snooze fest.
There's a reason why he got cut.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my pick is Joshua Van with a very big asterisk. I don't know if Pantoja will get the shot before the end of this year. I think it very well could be in the beginning of 2027, just based on timelines. They could do it depending on how the Van-Tyra fight goes. But that one I think could potentially be like a slugfest. And if that goes to a slugfest, is Van really going to want to rush his recovery to fight Pantoja by the end of 2026? So I'll give it a very big asterisk in the way I think Joshua Van retains in the interim title fight, but then Pantoja comes back early 2027 and gets his title back. Okay. That's my take on it. We'll move forward now to bantamweight. We'll start back with you, Oliver.
I think it's going to be Petr Yan. I don't think anyone beats him. He's probably going to get a rematch against Merab. His takedown defense is that good. Merab clearly can't stand with him. Whether he gets another fight against Umar, I think it'll be more of the same. And he arguably already beat Sean O'Malley. I know that's very controversial. So if they do fight again, this current Yan, I don't see anyone beating him.
Yeah, I think Yan wins the rematch against Merab. I think he wins the rematch against Sean. I think he runs through Umar. I think he's the top guy right now at bantamweight.
I'm actually going to go, once again, a little bit different. I think it actually might be O'Malley, only because what I see happening potentially is either some kind of White House or summertime fight. He goes against Yan once again. But Sean O'Malley looks really good in those full 25-minute fights. I mean, do you see what he did to Cheeto Vera? Pieced him up for literally 25 minutes. Cheeto had no answer. Obviously, that won't happen with Peter Yan because he's one of the best fighters in the entire world right now. But I just love O'Malley in those just really long, drawn-out wars. I feel like he always just finds a way to come out on top. His chin is really strong, too. And then I think if he does win the belt, what will happen is he just won't fight for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He'll hold on to the belt.
Fair enough.
Chimaev Max.
Yeah, I'm going with Merab, actually. I really think that this was the first time he's been tested as a champion, and it also was fourth fight in the year. I think these fighters that are champions, that are dominant, they tend to get a little overconfident, develop a bit of an ego. Not saying that's a bad thing for Merab because he can respectfully talk all he wants. He beat O'Malley twice and was dominant against Sanhagen. But I think that fourth fight against Yan was a bit of a miscalculation on his part. Petr Yan's a very good fighter, and already having a fight to prepare against Merab and having that film from that fight, he's going to naturally have a better fight. I think Merab kind of underestimated that. I think he realizes that, has a really good camp, beats Yan by decision in the next fight. And then if it is O'Malley again, I don't see how Sean O'Malley beats Merab.
No,
I don't think that
there's
there's any advantage for Sean on the ground. I think Merab just pummels him, holds him down. And, as Justin Gaethje would say, there's something that happened if one man can hold you down. But we'll move forward now to featherweight, where there's going to be some questions here. I know you have one to lead us off.
I have a very interesting take. I have Arman Sarukian at featherweight, not because I think he's going to necessarily beat Volkanovski. I just don't think Volkanovski will still be in the UFC by the end of the year. I think we could see Arman go down, fight maybe like an Aljamain Sterling, get himself ranked at featherweight, and then I think he beats Evloev, Murphy, even Diego, whoever he ends up fighting for the belt in maybe November, December.
Yeah, I have Lerone Murphy. I'm a big fan of him. I know some people are kind of lukewarm on him. I honestly think that this fight coming up for him against Movsar is tougher than Volk. I think Volk's a better fighter, but stylistically, if he can get past that grappling of Movsar, I think he can stand and go in there with Volk, who is going to want to stand and bang with him.
Yeah, I went with Volk. Not that any discredit to Lerone Murphy, because he obviously had a great win over Aaron Pico. I just feel like Volkanovski is just an amazing fighter. And if it was 25 minutes, Lerone Murphy is not really this guy that's probably going to go out there and get the finish. I think kind of it's been one of those fluky situations where he just caught Pico at a good time. And you kind of see that in his other fights with Dan Ige and Josh Emmett, where he just currently go out there and get the finish. And I think with Volkanovski, he's just so strong everywhere. He has no weaknesses or flaws in his game. The only thing I worry about is if he defends twice this year, he could maybe lose that second fight. But if he only defends once against like Movsar or Lerone Murphy, I could see him just riding out into the sunset. So maybe it's vacant by the end of the year.
Yeah, another asterisk for me. It's if Volk beats Lerone Murphy or Movsar, whoever he fights next, I think he does retire. I think he calls it quits. You've had such a stellar career. You take down the next contender at featherweight. What else do you have to prove? There really is nothing else for him to prove. He's just fighting for pure love of the game at this point. And I guess to get his cooking channel more views and subscribers. But regardless, I think he retires win or lose, and either it's Lerone Murphy or a vacant title fight at the end of this year or early next year, one of the two. Moving next to lightweight, another division that's in a bit of turmoil, Oliver.
I have another hot take, and I'll explain after I say it. I have Charles Oliveira.
Oh, I wonder why. Look at the hair, guys.
Not because I think he beats Ilya in a rematch. I just don't think Ilya will be a 55er at the end of the year. I think he's going to go up and try to fight Islam. Do I think he's going to win? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And I think Charles will probably beat Holloway and then beat either like BSD or Arman for the belt. And then order will be restored and we'll have Charles Oliveira as a champion again.
Yeah, I have Ilya. I think he's the best fighter in the UFC right now. And I think if he stays there, I think he's going to run through almost everyone in that division.
Yeah, that's my point with Sean O'Malley. I got to go with Ilya Topuria. He's probably going to have one more title defense before the year starts. And I just think if it's Justin Gaethje right now, who's interim champion, he runs through him without a question in one round, and we know how that goes.
Yeah, to move a little quicker here, I'm going to go with Ilya. I think he's too dominant. I think he stays at lightweight for a little bit, maybe till next year. I think he goes up eventually, but I think he stays at lightweight. Now, moving quickly on to welterweight. Again, probably no real need to explain your picks here.
Yeah, I have Islam Makhachev. He'll probably fight once or twice against maybe like Ian Gary, and then, like I said, probably Ilya. And I think at 170, it favors Islam.
Yeah, I mean, he fights once a year, and I don't think he's going to lose his fight. I think Islam's a champion.
He's pound number one. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah, it's Islam. I didn't really change it. And I'm sure there's probably no change at middleweight here either.
No, Hamza's going to fight once this year.
He'll fight once, and it's...
Yeah, he's the champion. I mean, same thing with Islam. Best guys right now.
Hamzat Chimaev, but don't be surprised if Fluffy comes out next year and does some special things.
All right. Now we have some questions at light heavyweight and heavyweight. We'll start light heavyweight quickly.
I have Yuri Prohaska. I think Pereira is going to make the jump to heavyweight, and I think we've seen Yuri can beat just about anyone else except Alex Pereira.
Yeah, 100%. I think Alex moves up, lets the belt go, and I think Yuri is the best right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. If Alex doesn't move up, it's him. If not, Yuri Prochazka dominates Magomedov live.
I'm glad we're in agreement here because I'd love to see Yuri get one more crack at the title.
Mhm.
Heavyweight, again, this one, probably another caveat or an asterisk.
I have Alex Pereira probably as an interim. I think he'll fight Cyril Gane because I don't think Tom's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, Tom's not going to fight, I don't think, this year or maybe ever again. And I think Alex beats Gane in an interim fight.
Yeah, if Tom comes back, I think he still beats anyone with one eye, no eyes. He's just better than all of them. If Alex does move up, he will be the clear champion and show why he's better than everyone else.
It is a shame about Tom. I would love to see him fight again. He had the chance to get his first fight in how long? He gets eye poked in the
2
first
years,
round.
maybe.
Yeah.
It's just a brutal draw. Move to the women's weights, women's straw weight, where Mackenzie Dern holds the title, but for how long?
Oh, I think it's going to be Sean Weili right away. The second that fight happens.
I think Zhang Weili's still the best fighter. She gave up her belt. She's going to take it back.
Yeah, I love Mackenzie Dern, but just the striking's not there. Whaley's got to beat everywhere else.
Yep, I think it's Sean Weili. Now, women's flyweight.
Valentina Shevchenko. It's not even close.
Yeah, nothing else to say on her.
I honestly think Natalia Silva could give her a really good fight. I think she can really get her out of there. Valentina's like 36 at this point, so I think she might be due for a loss.
Finally, to conclude it, women's bantamweight.
Kayla Harrison, same as Valentina Shevchenko. There's no one beating her.
I think Harrison beats Nunes and is the best women's fighter of all time.
Yeah, I think Nunes just took too much time off like Henry Cejudo. You got to give me Kayla Harrison. She looks huge.
Wins at the White House. Quote me on that. Book it. That's how it goes. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight here on 360 Sports. For Banning, Oliver, myself, and Alec, thank you for watching, folks. Have a good one.